In the heart of southern Alabama, tucked between pine forests and fading railroad tracks, lies the quiet little town of Abbeville. It's the kind of town where nothing much happens, and that's exactly how the folks like it. But not everything in Abbeville is peaceful. Not after dark. They say when the sun goes down, something ancient stirs in the streets. A tall woman in black, with arms like tree limbs and a scream that could stop your heart. They call her Huggin Molly. The story begins on a sticky July evening, when 16-year-old Emma Carter arrived in Abbeville to spend the summer with her grandmother. Her parents said she needed a break from city life. She said she needed better Wi-Fi. Emma stepped off the old bus with a suitcase in one hand and her phone in the other, unimpressed by the sleepy town square and its antique shops that looked like they hadn't been touched since the 1950s. Her grandma Ruth was waiting on the porch, waving with a smile as wide as a watermelon slice. "Welcome home, baby girl," she said, pulling Emma into a warm hug. That night, as crickets chirped and fireflies blinked in the tall grass, Emma sat with her grandma on the front porch, sipping sweet tea and swatting mosquitoes. The air was heavy with heat and stories, and that's when Grandma Ruth leaned in and lowered her voice. "She's real, you know," she said. Emma raised an eyebrow. "Who's real?" "Huggin Molly," said Grandma. 7 feet tall, dressed in black with a wide-brimmed hat and arms long enough to wrap around you twice. Emma laughed. "That sounds like a bad Halloween costume." But Grandma's face didn't change. "She only comes out at night. Only after dark. And only after you've been told not to." As the porch light flickered and the cicadas buzzed louder, Grandma continued, "Years ago, when I was about your age, I snuck out with some friends one night. We were giggling, running barefoot down Main Street, just being kids. And then we heard her." There was a pause. Emma leaned in, her smile fading. A sound like a woman weeping, but far away. We stopped. The street was empty. No wind, no cars, just the sound of soft footsteps on gravel. And then she appeared. She came out of the shadows, tall like a lamppost. Her arms reached out like branches, and before I could run, she wrapped me in a hug so tight I couldn't move. And then she screamed, right into my ear. They laughed, a little nervously, and passed by the closed shops and silent church. The air was unusually cold for July, and a faint fog began to roll in, hugging the pavement like a blanket. Then came the sound, soft, slow, scraping, like shoes dragging across gravel. And then silence. Emma stopped. "Did you hear that?" Mason glanced around. "It's nothing. Probably a possum." But Emma was already turning around. That's when they saw her, a figure, at the far end of the street, tall, still, covered in black from head to toe. A wide hat obscured her face, and her arms hung unnaturally long at her sides. The figure didn't move, didn't speak, just stood, watching. Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Mason." "I see her," he said. Let's go. Now. They backed away slowly, but the figure took a step forward, then another. Each step echoed like thunder in the silence of the empty town. Then, without warning, she rushed forward, arms stretched wide. Emma screamed, but she couldn't move. She was wrapped in cold, bony arms, held tight like a mother clutching a lost child. And then she screamed. Not Emma, her. A scream so high, so loud, it shattered the night. It wasn't just a sound, it was a feeling like grief and fury and endless sorrow. The world spun, darkness closed in, and then nothing. Emma woke the next morning in her bed. Sunlight poured through the window. Birds chirped outside like nothing had happened. She sat up gasping. Her ears were ringing. Her arms ached like she'd been squeezed by something enormous. Downstairs, Grandma was cooking breakfast. She didn't even look up when Emma entered the kitchen. You saw her, didn't you? Emma nodded, her hands shaking. Grandma placed a plate of eggs and toast on the table and sat down across from her. She doesn't hurt anyone, but she doesn't let you forget. Later that week, Emma drew a picture and stuck it to the fridge. It showed a tall woman in black with long arms and no face. Underneath, in crayon, she wrote, "Don't go out after dark." Narrator soft and slow. No one knows for sure who Huggin Molly was. A mother who lost her child? A teacher who lost her mind? Some say she's just a story to keep children safe. But in Abbeville, when the sky goes dark, you don't take chances. You stay indoors, you keep the lights on, and you don't walk alone. Because if you do, she'll find you. And she'll hug you tight and scream so loud, you'll never forget her. Some legends die, but Molly hugs forever. And so, the story fades into the shadows, like the sound of footsteps down an empty road. But legends never truly end. They wait, they listen, they watch. If this tale kept you up tonight, if it made you glance twice at the darkness outside your window, then perhaps you should subscribe, because there are more stories, older, darker, and closer than you think. And if you know a story, one your grandmother whispered to you, or one you swore you saw with your own eyes, leave it in the comments below. I'm always listening. Until next time, keep the lights on. And whatever you do, don't answer if someone knocks and doesn't say your name.